Philippine Sea, June 19th, 1944, 0530 hours. Vice Admiral Jisaburo Ozawa, commanding the Japanese mobile fleet, stands on the bridge of his flagship Taiho, watching 9 battleships and 5 fleet carriers steam eastward through waters that Japanese naval doctrine considers the outer defensive perimeter of the empire. The combined fleet represents Japan's maximum available naval strength. 10 battleships, including the mighty Yamato and Musashi, supported by every operational carrier and cruiser the Imperial Navy can deploy for what Japanese planners believe will be the decisive naval engagement that secures Japan's Pacific Empire. What Admiral Ozawa cannot possibly know, what no Japanese naval officer could comprehend in their most desperate strategic calculations, is that 800 miles to the east, Admiral Raymond Spruance commands Task Force 58 with 15 fast battleships, 7 fleet carriers, 8 light carriers, and 956 aircraft, representing less than half of America's total Pacific Fleet strength, and backed by shipyards that have launched 23 fast battleships since Pearl Harbor, while Japan managed to complete only 2. Within 18 hours, the mathematical reality of American industrial supremacy will transform Japan's carefully husbanded naval strength into scattered wreckage across 500 square miles of Pacific Ocean, demonstrating how America's unprecedented naval construction program has created fleet capabilities that render traditional Japanese naval strategy mathematically impossible. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you.
Intelligence reports in Admiral Ozawa's cabin paint a picture of American naval strength that reflects Japanese assumptions about democratic nations' industrial limitations and strategic priorities. Japanese naval intelligence, working with intercepted radio transmissions and reconnaissance reports filtered through increasingly unreliable sources, estimates American Pacific Fleet strength at approximately 8 battleships, 12 carriers, and supporting vessels consistent with pre-war American naval construction rates. These calculations, prepared by Captain Yahachi Tanabe's intelligence section aboard Combined Fleet Flagship, assume American shipyards operate according to traditional naval construction timelines, where battleships require 4 years to build and carriers need 3 years from keel laying to commissioning. Japanese planners, extrapolating from their own industrial experience, where the battleship Shinano required 5 years to complete, cannot conceive of American shipyards launching new battleships every 6 months through mass production techniques borrowed from automobile manufacturing. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, like this video. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. What Japanese intelligence services have failed to detect is the complete transformation of American shipbuilding from craft-based construction to industrial assembly that has created naval production capabilities exceeding anything in maritime history. American shipyards operate 24-hour shifts, employing 2.1 million workers who construct warships using prefabricated sections, standardized components, and welding techniques that reduce construction time by 75% compared to traditional methods. The mathematical reality, hidden from Japanese planners, is staggering in its strategic implications. American shipyards have launched 23 Iowa and South Dakota-class fast battleships since December 1941, each mounting 9 16-inch guns and capable of 30-knot speeds that exceed Japan's fastest battleships. These vessels represent American industrial capacity, applied specifically to naval warfare problems, creating not just numerical superiority, but technological advantages that render Japanese naval tactics obsolete. Japanese naval doctrine, developed through careful study of Jutland and Tsushima, assumes battleship engagements occur between roughly equal forces, where individual ship quality and crew training determine victory. The concept of fighting outnumbered 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 exists in Japanese tactical manuals only as theoretical exercises, not as operational reality that American industrial production has created throughout the Pacific.
Japanese confidence in June 1944 rests on solid foundations of naval tradition, superior individual ship design, and tactical doctrine refined through decades of professional military education. The combined fleet represents the culmination of Japanese naval development, with battleships like Yamato mounting 18.1-inch guns that outrange any American weapon, and crews trained in night-fighting techniques that proved devastatingly effective during early Pacific battles. Admiral Ozawa commands what many naval experts consider the most professionally trained naval force in world history, with officers educated at the Naval War College in Tokyo through rigorous programs emphasizing tactical innovation and aggressive offensive operations. Japanese naval aviators average 600 flight hours before assignment to fleet squadrons, compared to American aviators with 200 hours of training, creating apparent qualitative advantages that Japanese planners believe compensate for numerical disparities. The battleship Yamato herself represents Japanese naval engineering at its absolute peak, displacing 72,800 tons and mounting the most powerful naval guns ever installed on a warship. Her 18.1-inch guns fire 3,200-pound shells to ranges exceeding 45,000 yards, theoretically capable of destroying any American battleship before it can return effective fire. Japanese naval architects designed Yamato specifically to defeat multiple American battleships simultaneously, reflecting strategic assumptions about future naval warfare. Japanese naval tactics emphasize concentration of force, superior night-fighting capabilities, and aggressive offensive operations that seek decisive engagement under favorable conditions. The combined fleet has trained extensively in coordinated attacks by battleships, carriers, cruisers, and destroyers operating as integrated task forces, creating tactical capabilities that Japanese admirals believe can overcome numerical disadvantages through superior coordination and fighting skill. Captain Tamechi Hara, commanding the cruiser Yahagi in Admiral Ozawa's screening force, has participated in night actions at Guadalcanal, where Japanese tactical superiority allowed smaller forces to defeat larger American units through superior training and more aggressive tactics. These early war successes created confidence that professional skill and tactical innovation could overcome American material advantages, assumptions that Japanese naval leadership extends to major fleet engagements.
What Japanese intelligence has failed to detect is the systematic transformation of American shipbuilding from traditional maritime crafts to industrial mass production that has created naval construction capabilities exceeding anything previously achieved in human history. The revolution began in 1940 with the Two-Ocean Navy Act, which authorized construction of 1,325,000 tons of new warships and provided funding for shipyard expansion on unprecedented scales. Henry J. Kaiser's shipbuilding innovations demonstrate this transformation most dramatically, applying automobile assembly line techniques to warship construction through prefabrication, standardized components, and systematic workflow management. Kaiser's Richmond shipyard employs 90,000 workers operating in 3 shifts around the clock, constructing Liberty ships in 42 days, compared to traditional construction times exceeding 200 days. The principles Kaiser applied to merchant vessels extend to naval construction through government contracts that coordinate private shipyards with naval design bureaus and steel producers. Bethlehem Steel's Quincy shipyard constructs heavy cruisers using modular assembly techniques, while Newport News Shipbuilding launches aircraft carriers through systematic application of industrial engineering principles to maritime construction problems. American battleship construction represents the ultimate expression of industrial shipbuilding, with Iowa-class vessels built through coordination of hundreds of subcontractors producing standardized components for final assembly at 4 dedicated shipyards. The USS Iowa required 32 months from keel laying to commissioning, compared to 60 months for comparable Japanese battleships, reflecting American industrial integration that Japanese shipyards cannot match. The technological innovations extend beyond construction speed to encompass systematic quality control, interchangeable parts manufacturing, and standardized equipment installation that creates operational advantages impossible through traditional construction methods. Every American battleship mounts identical fire control systems, uses standardized ammunition, and operates communication equipment manufactured to identical specifications, creating fleet-wide compatibility that Japanese vessels cannot achieve. American naval architecture incorporates lessons learned from early Pacific battles, with improved damage control systems, enhanced anti-aircraft armament, and radar integration that reflects systematic analysis of combat experience. The fast battleship design philosophy emphasizes speed, firepower, and defensive systems optimized for Pacific warfare conditions, creating vessels specifically designed to fight Japanese naval forces under circumstances American planners anticipate. As the combined fleet steams toward what Japanese planners expect will be the decisive naval engagement of the Pacific War, Admiral Ozawa's staff focuses on maximizing the effectiveness of Japan's carefully husbanded naval strength through tactical coordination and strategic positioning. Japanese naval doctrine emphasizes achieving local superiority through concentration of all available forces at the critical point, gambling Japan's entire naval capability on a single decisive battle. Admiral Ozawa commands 9 battleships, representing 90% of Japan's operational battle line, 5 fleet carriers containing 60% of Japan's trained naval aviators, and supporting cruisers and destroyers that constitute Japan's maximum available naval strength. This concentration represents Japanese strategic thinking that seeks decisive engagement under favorable conditions, risking everything to achieve victory that might secure Japan's Pacific Empire. Japanese battle plans assume American forces will operate according to similar principles of concentration, expecting to encounter American naval strength comparable to Japanese deployment. Intelligence estimates suggest the Americans might deploy 6 to 8 battleships supported by equivalent carrier strength, creating the kind of roughly balanced engagement where Japanese tactical superiority and superior individual ship quality can determine victory. Meanwhile, 800 miles to the east, Admiral Raymond Spruance commands Task Force 58 with naval strength that represents routine American deployment rather than maximum effort concentration. Spruance's 15 fast battleships include 7 Iowa and South Dakota-class vessels commissioned since Pearl Harbor, each mounting 9 16-inch guns and capable of 30-knot speeds that allow tactical flexibility impossible for slower Japanese battleships. American naval planning reflects industrial abundance rather than resource conservation, with Task Force 58 representing less than 60% of available Pacific Fleet strength while maintaining sufficient reserves for simultaneous operations at Saipan, Guam, and the Marshall Islands. The scale of American naval deployment indicates strategic thinking based on overwhelming material superiority rather than tactical concentration of limited resources. The contrast becomes apparent in ammunition loads and fuel capacity, where American ships carry supplies for sustained combat operations lasting weeks, while Japanese vessels must conserve fuel and ammunition due to limited resupply capabilities. American logistics networks can deliver fuel, ammunition, and spare parts to forward areas through fleet trains that operate with industrial efficiency, while Japanese forces must complete operations with whatever supplies they carry at departure. Commander Ernest Evans, Commanding the destroyer USS Johnston as part of Task Force 58's screening force, represents the American naval officer created through systematic professional development and equipped with industrial-quality weapon systems. Evans, a graduate of the Naval Academy class of 1931, commands a Fletcher-class destroyer mounting 5 5-inch guns, 10 torpedo tubes, and radar systems that provide surveillance and fire control capabilities exceeding Japanese cruiser standards. Evans' destroyer carries 600 rounds of 5-inch ammunition, 15 torpedoes, and sufficient fuel for 6,000-mile operations at cruising speed, representing American industrial capacity applied to individual ship capabilities. His crew of 273 officers and enlisted men operate equipment manufactured to identical specifications across 175 Fletcher-class destroyers, creating standardization that allows interchangeable parts, common training programs, and systematic maintenance procedures. On the Japanese side, Commander Teraaka Ameya, commanding the destroyer Yukikaze in Admiral Ozawa's screening force, embodies the Japanese naval officer created through traditional professional development but limited by industrial constraints. Ameya, a graduate of the Naval Academy at Etajima, commands a Kagero-class destroyer that mounts superior individual weapons but operates with limited ammunition, fuel, and replacement parts. Ameya's destroyer represents Japanese naval engineering excellence applied under resource limitations, with sophisticated design features that maximize combat effectiveness through individual ship quality rather than systematic industrial advantages. His crew operates equipment that varies in manufacture date and specifications due to wartime production shortcuts, requiring extensive training in maintaining diverse mechanical systems. The personal contrast becomes apparent when both officers prepare for combat, with Evans coordinating through radar-equipped combat information centers that track aircraft and surface contacts automatically, while Ameya relies primarily on visual observation and voice communication systems that limit coordination capabilities during complex tactical situations. Evans carries ammunition loads sufficient for sustained combat operations, with resupply available through ammunition ships that accompany Task Force 58, while Ameya must conserve ammunition throughout the engagement due to limited Japanese production and non-existent resupply capability in forward areas. At precisely 0830 hours, Japanese reconnaissance aircraft report American task force positions that indicate naval strength exceeding every estimate in Japanese intelligence files. Pilot reports describe countless American ships extending beyond horizon, with battleship and carrier concentrations that suggest American deployment of maximum available Pacific Fleet strength rather than routine operational deployment. Admiral Ozawa, receiving initial contact reports in Taiho's flag bridge, confronts information that challenges fundamental assumptions underlying Japanese naval strategy. American naval strength appears to exceed Japanese estimates by margins that make tactical victory impossible through conventional engagement. Yet Japanese strategic position requires decisive battle that either destroys American naval power or results in complete destruction of remaining Japanese fleet strength. The mathematics become inescapable as radar contacts multiply across Task Force 58's formation, indicating American deployment of 15 battleships supported by carrier aircraft that outnumber Japanese aviation by 2-to-1 margins. Japanese tactical doctrine assumes rough numerical parity, where superior training and individual ship quality can determine victory, not systematic disadvantage that requires tactical miracles to overcome. Commander Evans, monitoring radar contacts from USS Johnston's Combat Information Center, observes Japanese fleet deployment that appears almost insignificant compared to American naval strength surrounding him. His destroyer operates as part of screening forces that include more major combatants than the entire Japanese battle line, while maintaining communication with carrier aircraft that outnumber Japanese aviation throughout the engagement. The first Japanese air attacks commence at 0930 hours as 69 aircraft launch from Admiral Ozawa's carriers toward American task forces that respond with 450 interceptor aircraft coordinated through radar-controlled combat air patrol systems. The numerical disparity becomes apparent immediately as individual Japanese formations encounter American fighter aircraft that outnumber them 4-1 while operating from secure bases with unlimited fuel and ammunition. Lieutenant Commander David McCampbell, leading American fighter squadrons from USS Essex, coordinates interception operations that systematically destroy Japanese attack formations before they reach American surface ships. McCampbell's aircraft operate with radar guidance, superior numbers, and communication systems that allow coordinated attacks impossible for Japanese formations operating under radio silence with limited fuel capacity.
The air combat over Task Force 58 demonstrates how American industrial production creates aviation capabilities that overwhelm Japanese qualitative advantages through systematic numerical superiority and technological integration. American carrier aircraft operate with radar navigation, radio communication, and unlimited replacement capability that allows sustained operations regardless of individual pilot losses. Japanese naval aviators, representing years of intensive training and superior individual flying skills, encounter American air defenses that reflect industrial approaches to aerial warfare rather than individual pilot development. American Combat Air Patrol maintains 200 fighters aloft continuously through systematic rotation, while Japanese attack formations must complete missions with whatever aircraft survive initial launches. The mathematical progression becomes apparent as Japanese strike formations suffer 75% losses while inflicting minimal damage on American surface forces protected by radar-directed anti-aircraft fire and fighter interception systems. American industrial capacity allows immediate replacement of aircraft losses, while Japanese carriers cannot replace combat losses due to limited aircraft production and pilot training programs. Commander Evans, observing the air battle from Johnston's Bridge, watches Japanese aircraft formations dissolve under American fighter attacks that operate with systematic precision rather than individual heroics. American aviation tactics reflect industrial thinking applied to aerial combat, with standardized attack procedures, coordinated communication, and unlimited ammunition supplies that sustain continuous operations. The fuel situation demonstrates similar American advantages as Task Force 58 aircraft operate from carriers with unlimited aviation gasoline supplies delivered through fleet oilers, while Japanese aircraft must conserve fuel throughout extended-range operations that limit tactical flexibility and combat persistence. As Japanese air attacks prove ineffective against American air defenses, Admiral Ozawa contemplates surface engagement that would pit his 9 battleships against 15 American fast battleships in the kind of gun duel that Japanese naval doctrine considers decisive. The mathematical relationship appears manageable until Japanese intelligence reports indicate American battleships mount radar-directed fire control systems that allow accurate gunnery at ranges exceeding Japanese visual systems. The USS Iowa, leading American battleship formations, mounts 9 16-inch guns directed by Mark 8 fire control radar that can engage targets at maximum gun range regardless of visibility conditions. Japanese battleships, including Yamato with her 18.1-inch guns, rely primarily on optical fire control that requires visual contact and clear weather for accurate long-range gunnery. Commander Evans, screening American battleship formations with USS Johnston, monitors radar contacts that show Japanese battleships approaching at speeds indicating preparation for surface engagement. American tactical doctrine calls for radar-directed gunnery at maximum range, coordinated through communication systems that allow simultaneous engagement by multiple battleships against individual Japanese targets.
The technical advantages multiply beyond individual ship capabilities to encompass ammunition types, fire control integration, and damage control systems that reflect systematic American approaches to battleship design. American armor-piercing shells incorporate advanced metallurgy and explosive technology that maximizes penetration against Japanese armor protection, while Japanese shells use conventional design that may prove inadequate against American battleship protection. As the range closes to 35,000 yards, American battleships commence radar-directed fire with 9-gun salvos that bracket Japanese formations with systematic accuracy. Japanese return fire, while individually accurate, cannot match the volume and coordination of American gunnery systems that operate through integrated fire control networks. By 1400 hours, the mathematical reality of American naval superiority has transformed the Philippine Sea engagement from decisive battle into systematic destruction of remaining Japanese naval aviation. Task Force 58 aircraft continue hunting Japanese formations with unlimited fuel and ammunition, while Japanese carriers cannot launch effective strikes due to pilot and aircraft losses that cannot be replaced. Admiral Ozawa, recognizing the mathematical impossibility of tactical victory, orders withdrawal toward Japanese bases, while American forces maintain contact through radar surveillance that operates regardless of weather or visibility conditions. The Japanese retreat demonstrates how American industrial capacity has created naval warfare capabilities that render traditional tactical concepts obsolete through systematic material advantage. The human cost becomes apparent as Japanese survivors describe systematic destruction by forces whose material advantages transcend individual courage or professional skill. Japanese naval aviation, trained through years of intensive preparation, suffers annihilation by American aircraft that operate with numerical superiority and technological integration that no amount of individual excellence can overcome. Commander Evans, pursuing retreating Japanese forces with Task Force 58 screening units, observes Japanese ships damaged by air attacks they could not effectively counter due to overwhelming American aviation superiority. The engagement demonstrates how American industrial production has created naval warfare capabilities that render traditional tactical concepts obsolete through systematic material advantage. The Philippine Sea engagement ends on June 20, 1944, with Japanese naval aviation effectively ceasing to exist as an operational force. Of the 473 aircraft Admiral Ozawa launched from his 5 carriers, only 35 returned to their ships, representing a 93% loss rate that eliminates Japan's trained naval aviators and reduces Japanese carriers to floating airfields without aircraft. The mathematical reality becomes inescapable. American industrial production has created naval capabilities that can absorb any losses while replacing equipment faster than combat can destroy it. Admiral Chester Nimitz, reviewing battle reports at Pearl Harbor, recognizes that the Philippine Sea represents more than tactical victory. It demonstrates American naval supremacy achieved through industrial methods rather than traditional naval excellence. Task Force 58 lost 29 aircraft while destroying 426 Japanese planes, a kill ratio of 15-1 that reflects systematic advantages in pilot training, aircraft performance, and logistical support impossible for Japan to match or counter. The implications extend far beyond individual battle results to encompass strategic capabilities that rendered Japanese naval resistance mathematically futile. American shipyards continue launching new vessels monthly, while Japanese naval strength decreases through combat losses that cannot be replaced. The USS Missouri, commissioned August 11, 1944, represents the 18th American fast battleship to enter service since Pearl Harbor, while Japan has completed no new battleships since Musashi in August 1942. Vice Admiral Mark Mitcher, commanding Task Force 58's fast carriers, submits operational reports describing American naval capabilities that operate according to industrial principles rather than traditional maritime limitations. His task force consumed 380,000 gallons of aviation gasoline during the Philippine Sea engagement while maintaining operational readiness for extended combat, demonstrating logistics systems that treat fuel and ammunition as unlimited resources rather than carefully husbanded supplies. The human cost becomes apparent through Japanese survivor accounts that describe systematic destruction by forces operating with material advantages that transcend individual courage or tactical skill. Commander Sadatoshi Tomioka, one of few Japanese naval officers to survive multiple carrier sinkings, writes that American naval power operates like an industrial machine that produces victories through systematic application of unlimited resources rather than military skill. Intelligence reports reaching Tokyo in July 1944 revealed the global scope of American naval expansion in ways that definitively expose the mathematical impossibility of Japanese strategic recovery. American naval construction includes simultaneous battleship operations in Pacific and Atlantic theaters while maintaining sufficient reserve strength for additional operations that exceed Japanese estimates of total American naval capability. The USS Wisconsin, launching from Philadelphia Navy Yard on December 7, 1943, exactly 2 years after Pearl Harbor, represents American industrial symbolism applied to naval warfare. This Iowa-class battleship, mounting 9 16-inch guns and capable of 33-knot speeds, demonstrates American ability to produce the world's most advanced warships using mass production techniques that Japanese shipyards cannot match even for single-vessel construction. Admiral Soemu Toyoda, assuming command of the combined fleet following Admiral Koga's death, confronts strategic mathematics that make continued naval resistance strategically meaningless. American battle line strength increases monthly through new construction, while Japanese battleship strength decreases through fuel shortages, maintenance problems, and operational restrictions that limit major warships to defensive positions near Japanese home islands. The logistics differential becomes equally stark as American fleet trains deliver unlimited supplies to forward bases, while Japanese naval operations must conserve fuel and ammunition throughout every mission. Task Force 58 operates with 34 fleet oilers, 11 ammunition ships, and 19 supply vessels that maintain continuous replenishment cycles, while the entire Japanese Navy operates with fuel reserves sufficient for less than 6 months of limited operations. Captain Toshikazu Omai, analyzing American naval capabilities for Combined Fleet Headquarters, calculates that American naval ammunition production exceeds Japanese total consumption by 8-to-1 margins, indicating industrial capacity that can sustain continuous combat operations indefinitely, while Japanese forces must limit engagements to preserve irreplaceable ammunition supplies. The technological gap continues widening as American radar systems, communication networks, and fire control equipment improve through systematic research and development programs that Japanese industry cannot match. American battleships commissioned in 1944 mount Mark 8 fire control radar with capabilities exceeding Japanese optical systems by margins that make long-range gunnery engagements mathematically impossible for Japanese forces to win. The capture of Saipan, Guam, and Tinian during summer 1944 demonstrates how American naval superiority translates into strategic capabilities that place Japanese home islands under direct attack for the first time since the 13th century. Operation Forager involves 535 American and Allied vessels, including 15 fast battleships that provide continuous fire support for amphibious operations while maintaining readiness for fleet engagements against any Japanese naval interference. Rear Admiral Jesse Oldendorf, commanding American battleship divisions during Saipan operations, coordinates naval gunfire that delivers 165,000 rounds of major-caliber ammunition during the first week of operations. This ammunition expenditure equals Japanese naval ammunition production for 6 months, demonstrating American industrial capacity applied to tactical support missions that Japanese planners considered strategically impossible. The USS Pennsylvania, USS Tennessee, and USS California, Pearl Harbor survivors rebuilt with advanced fire control systems, systematically destroyed Japanese fortifications with precision and volume impossible through traditional naval gunnery methods. These reconstructed battleships mount radar-directed guns that engage targets with accuracy exceeding Japanese peacetime gunnery practice, while firing at rates sustained through unlimited ammunition supply. Japanese defenders on Saipan, witnessing continuous American bombardment delivered without apparent concern for ammunition conservation, recognized the mathematical futility of resistance against industrial warfare capabilities. Lieutenant General Yoshitsugu Saito, commanding Japanese forces on Saipan, reports that American naval gunfire operates without regard for ammunition limitations, firing continuously for hours as though shells were unlimited. The speed of American amphibious operations reflects logistics systems that coordinate naval gunfire, air support, and ground forces through communication networks that operate with industrial precision. American forces land 71,000 troops on Saipan in 48 hours while maintaining continuous naval gunfire support, air cover, and supply operations that function simultaneously without apparent strain on American capabilities. Admiral Raymond Spruance, commanding the Fifth Fleet during Marianas operations, demonstrates American naval capabilities that operate multiple major campaigns simultaneously while maintaining strategic reserves for additional operations. His fleet includes capabilities that exceed total Japanese naval strength while representing less than 70% of available American Pacific Fleet resources. By August 1944, American radar technology has created naval warfare capabilities that render traditional Japanese tactics obsolete through systematic electronic advantages that multiply beyond individual equipment superiority. American battleships mount integrated radar systems that provide surveillance, fire control, and aircraft direction through coordinated networks that operate automatically under combat conditions. The USS Iowa's Mark 8 fire control radar can engage targets at ranges exceeding 40,000 yards with accuracy that Japanese optical systems cannot match under ideal conditions, while American radar operates effectively regardless of weather, visibility, or time of day. This technological advantage transforms naval gunnery from skilled craftsmanship to systematic target destruction that operates according to industrial principles. Japanese naval gunnery, based on superior optics and extensive training, cannot compete with American radar-directed systems that provide automatic target tracking, ballistic computation, and fire control integration. The mathematical relationship becomes clear when American battleships achieve 15% hit rates at maximum range, while Japanese vessels struggle to achieve 5% accuracy under optimal visual conditions. Communication systems demonstrate similar American advantages, as Task Force 58 operates integrated radio networks that coordinate battleships, carriers, cruisers, and destroyers through systematic information sharing impossible for Japanese forces operating under radio silence restrictions. American tactical coordination operates through electronic systems, while Japanese coordination relies on visual signals and predetermined battle plans. Admiral Willis Lee, commanding American battleship divisions, describes radar-directed night gunnery capabilities that allow continuous combat operations regardless of darkness, weather, or tactical conditions. American battleships can engage targets automatically through electronic fire control, while Japanese vessels cannot effectively fight at night without visual references that electronic warfare makes impossible. The electronic warfare revolution extends to aircraft operations as American carriers coordinate fighter interception, bomber strikes, and reconnaissance missions through radar networks that provide complete tactical awareness. Japanese aviation operates without comparable electronic support, creating systematic disadvantages in aircraft coordination, navigation, and combat effectiveness. As American forces prepare for Philippine invasion operations, the concentration of naval power demonstrates industrial capabilities that render Japanese naval resistance strategically impossible. Admiral Thomas Kinkaid's 7th Fleet and Admiral William Halsey's 3rd Fleet coordinate operations involving 32 aircraft carriers, 12 battleships, 24 cruisers, and 166 destroyers, representing naval strength exceeding all other nations combined. The USS New Jersey, serving as Admiral Halsey's flagship, demonstrates American fast battleship capabilities that combine firepower, protection, and speed in ways that Japanese naval architecture cannot match. Commissioned May 23, 1943, New Jersey represents American ability to design, construct, and deploy advanced battleships faster than Japanese shipyards can repair battle damage to existing vessels. American naval logistics for Philippine operations include coordination of 1,500 vessels carrying 250,000 troops supported by unlimited ammunition, fuel, and supply capabilities delivered through systematic industrial organization. This logistics capability exceeds Japanese total merchant marine capacity while representing routine American operational deployment rather than maximum effort concentration. Admiral Suemu Toyoda, planning Japanese naval response to Philippine invasion, confronts mathematical realities that make tactical success impossible through conventional naval engagement. Japanese naval strength includes 4 aircraft carriers with 116 operational aircraft facing American task forces with 16 fleet carriers operating 1,000-plus aircraft supported by unlimited replacement capability. The fuel situation demonstrates Japanese strategic constraints as combined fleet operations require consumption of fuel reserves intended for 6 months of defensive operations. American forces operate with unlimited fuel supply through fleet oilers that provide continuous replenishment, while Japanese vessels must complete operations with whatever fuel they carry at departure from Japanese bases. Japanese battle planning assumes tactical coordination can overcome numerical disadvantage, but American electronic warfare capabilities make Japanese coordination impossible while American forces operate through integrated communication and radar networks that provide systematic tactical advantages regardless of individual unit quality or crew training. By November 1944, American naval dominance has created strategic capabilities that place Japanese home islands under continuous attack while eliminating Japanese ability to reinforce or supply remaining Pacific garrisons. The capture of Saipan, Guam, and Tinian provides bases for B-29 superfortress operations against Japanese industrial targets, while American naval forces control Pacific sea lanes completely. The mathematical relationship becomes inescapable as American naval construction continues accelerating while Japanese naval strength contracts through combat losses, fuel shortages, and maintenance problems that reflect industrial limitations rather than tactical defeats. American shipyards launch new vessels monthly, while Japanese naval repair capabilities cannot maintain existing ships at operational readiness levels. Admiral Nimitz, planning final Pacific operations, coordinates naval capabilities that exceed combined world naval strength while representing systematic American industrial capacity applied to warfare rather than maximum military effort. American Pacific Fleet includes capabilities for simultaneous operations against Japanese home islands, continued support of ground forces throughout the Pacific, and maintenance of strategic reserves for European operations. The implications for Japanese strategic planning become mathematically impossible, as continued resistance requires naval capabilities that Japanese industry cannot produce, while American industrial expansion continues creating additional naval strength. The prospect of invading Japan requires American naval capabilities for amphibious operations that dwarfed previous Pacific campaigns while maintaining global operational commitments. Japanese strategic planners, analyzing American naval construction statistics obtained through neutral intelligence sources, calculate that American naval production in 1945 will exceed total Japanese military production by margins that make continued resistance strategically meaningless. American battleship construction alone represents naval capabilities exceeding Japanese total military industrial capacity across all categories. The bombardment of Japanese home islands during 1945 demonstrates American naval capabilities that transform battleships from fleet engagement weapons to strategic bombing platforms that systematically destroyed Japanese industrial capacity. American battleship divisions coordinate with B-29 operations to attack targets that Japanese defenses cannot protect due to overwhelming American fire control capabilities. Admiral William Halsey, commanding 3rd Fleet operations against Japan, coordinates battleship bombardment missions that deliver precision fires against industrial targets using radar fire control systems that operate with accuracy exceeding strategic bomber capabilities. American battleships engage targets on Japanese coast with impunity, while Japanese coastal defense systems cannot effectively respond due to technological and numerical disadvantages. The USS Missouri, USS Wisconsin, USS Iowa, and USS New Jersey operate in Japanese coastal waters while maintaining readiness for fleet engagements that Japanese naval forces cannot attempt due to fuel shortages and maintenance limitations that reflect systematic industrial collapse rather than tactical considerations. Japanese naval strategy reduces to preserving remaining vessels for final decisive battle that mathematical analysis indicates cannot succeed regardless of tactical circumstances. American naval superiority encompasses numerical advantages that exceed 10-to-1 ratios, while technological advantages make Japanese tactical coordination impossible through systematic electronic warfare capabilities. The human dimension becomes apparent through Japanese naval personnel accounts that describe systematic demoralization caused by facing American forces whose material advantages transcend military comprehension. Japanese sailors describe American bombardment operations that continue for hours without apparent ammunition limitations, while Japanese return fire must conserve shells due to irreplaceable ammunition supplies. The Japanese surrender follows systematic demonstration that American naval supremacy has eliminated Japanese ability to continue military operations through industrial warfare capabilities that exceed resistance capacity, regardless of individual courage or tactical innovation. American naval forces operate with global reach while maintaining unlimited operational tempo through logistics systems that treat ammunition and fuel as unlimited resources. Admiral Nimitz, accepting Japanese surrender aboard USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay, represents American naval victory achieved through industrial methods rather than traditional naval excellence. The surrender ceremony occurs aboard American battleship that represents systematic industrial capabilities applied to warfare rather than individual ship quality or crew superiority. The statistical reality demonstrates how American industrial mobilization created naval capabilities that rendered traditional military calculations obsolete through systematic material advantage. American naval construction during World War II includes 23 fast battleships, 151 aircraft carriers of all types, 72 cruisers, and 692 destroyers, representing naval production that exceeds all other nations combined, while simultaneously supporting global military operations. Japanese naval personnel witnessing American naval capabilities during surrender operations recognize the mathematical impossibility of resistance against industrial warfare systems that operate according to production principles rather than military limitations. American naval forces demonstrate capabilities that continue expanding through systematic industrial processes while Japanese forces contracted through resource exhaustion and technological obsolescence. The legacy of American naval supremacy extends beyond individual battles to encompass strategic transformation of warfare from resource management to resource overwhelming through systematic industrial application. The mathematical relationship of 23 American fast battleships versus 10 Japanese battleships demonstrated how industrial warfare operates according to production principles rather than military tradition, creating victory through systematic material overwhelming rather than tactical excellence. Commander Tameichi Hara, surviving multiple Japanese naval defeats, describes American naval warfare as industrial production applied to military destruction rather than traditional naval combat between professional forces. American naval operations functioned according to systematic principles that treated enemy resistance as production problems requiring sufficient application of material resources rather than tactical challenges requiring military skill. American naval personnel operating through systematic advantages that ensured tactical success nonetheless faced individual combat situations requiring personal courage and professional competence under battle conditions. The industrial advantages that guaranteed strategic victory did not eliminate individual risk or reduce personal requirements for combat effectiveness under fire. The mathematical superiority of American naval forces created combat conditions where individual Japanese courage confronted systematic American material advantage through circumstances that made resistance heroic rather than strategically meaningful. Japanese naval personnel fought with professional competence against American forces equipped through continental industrial coordination that created capabilities exceeding individual resistance regardless of training or motivation levels. The final accounting reveals that American naval supremacy, achieved through industrial mobilization principles, represented warfare transformation that rendered traditional military concepts obsolete through systematic application of manufacturing capabilities to military destruction. The mathematics of 23 versus 10 battleships demonstrated how industrial warfare operates according to production principles rather than military tradition, creating victory through systematic material overwhelming rather than tactical excellence.